all you EBT holders if you want to go in and take shit that you think is...
Oh, baby, I got time for you today. I pulled up some data from Social Explorer, if anyone else wants to go see it. Red states have a high number of SNAP recipients. Analysis shows that many counties with disproportionately high SNAP usage voted for Donald Trump in the 2020 election. 4 out of every 5 counties that have seen an increase in SNAP benefits since 2010 all voted for Donald Trump. So fuck off.
Millions of MAGA Republicans use SNAP benefits too. And who has the White House and conservative media been training them over the last couple of weeks to blame when they lose their SNAP benefits in November? I don't know if this is an issue people have been considering when we're talking about the consequences of what's going to happen when people don't have food to eat in November and they start seeing their children starving. But this is something that's starting to keep me up at night. Because see, when MAGA Republicans lose their SNAP benefits and they don't have food to feed to their kids, everyone is assuming that they're going to turn against the Trump administration, that they're going to somehow flip blue. And y'all, I'm just not convinced that that's going to happen.
Hello guys, welcome once again to the channel. I hope wherever you're watching, you're having a great time. Now, we have seen many Americans crying about the loss of SNAP benefits in the month of November. And it seems it is hurting many people. And the realization that is hitting them right now is that when you make wrong choices during elections, you have to live by the consequences that come with it. But still, even in this turmoil that everybody is complaining about, MAGA Republicans are coming and getting a rude shock from the data that they are seeing, because the data reveals that most people who depend on SNAP benefits are people from red states, rural red state areas. And that is really shocking most MAGA supporters, because they are wondering, how on earth are we the ones who depend more on SNAP, yet we have immigrants who have always been blamed as the people who want to benefit from this SNAP when they are not even Americans for that matter. And they are really in a rude shock. So one question that people are asking, why is it that even as government shutdown continues to go on, many of these MAGA Republicans still think that the government shutdown is caused by Democrats? It is something that has been necessitated by Democrats' desire to continue holding the government at ransom. It has reached to a point where now they feel confused because they don't know who to blame. In the first place, they believed that those who spend much time depending on SNAP benefits are black people. But then when they look at the data that currently is being revealed, many of those who are now missing on their SNAP benefits are white Republicans and specifically MAGA supporters. So it is really hurting them in the worst way possible. I've compiled a video of white Americans and even others speaking about this entire situation, why MAGA supporters are dumbfounded and they don't know where to go from now, because the SNAP benefits that they thought black people and migrants were using more, that is not the truth. It is them who depend more on SNAP benefits. Let's listen to the comments that they have to say here, then I shall come back in the end with my commentary.
In America, there is a misconception about who is on welfare. Now, let me just say this. There is no one program in the United States that constitutes welfare. There are many social programs in the United States that are part of what the United States calls the social safety net, which is really not much of a safety net at all when you consider the meager benefits that people receive. So, what I've decided to do is look quickly at the statistics from the last census. Now, this holds true going back, but actually in the last 20 years, it has increased. The number of people receiving public benefits of some sort or another has increased amongst one particular demographic, and that is amongst white people. 20 years ago, 61% of all the people receiving public benefits of some kind in the United States were white people. Today, or as of 2022, or as the last census, 76.2% of all the people receiving some form of public benefit were white people. And the rest were people of color, 13%, people of Asian extraction, 6%, give or take, and people of Hispanic somewhere down in the middle there. So let's just talk about what constitutes public benefits. So I'm going to read this list here, and this is what makes up all of welfare, if you will, in the United States: Medicaid, SNAP, WIC, free or reduced price school meals, SSI, TAANF, energy aid, rental subsidies, unemployment compensation, and assorted other programs. So 40 million people in the United States live in poverty, and that number approximately is the number of people who receive public benefits of some kind. And of course that varies when you include Social Security recipients, Medicare, etc., which is not it's an earned benefit. So I'm going to eliminate that for the moment. So of those people, the number of people receiving public benefits, welfare, if you will, some form of social program, social safety net support, as I said, 76.2% are whites. So I think this is important to remember when people start talking out of their ass.
Good morning. Happy Monday. Some exciting news on this very dreary and gloomy Monday morning. So on a poll taken, and statistics show that on this Monday morning, even though all these Trumpies are all for this big disastrous bill, and they have no problem with SNAP, EBT, WIC, and everything else, Medicaid taken away from undocumented migrants who, first of all, do not receive those benefits. But let me tell some great news on this Monday. Statistics show in this poll that was taken that 6.8 million people that are on SNAP are white. 4.1 million are African American, and 3.7 million are Latinos, Hispanics. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Share the video for awareness, but I think that when all these changes come around, the ones that are going to have their panties in a bunch and are going to be very upset are the Trumpies. But I hope they have the day and the life they deserve. For the rest of you guys, stay safe out there. Happy Monday. Blessed week. I love you.
Hey MAGA, I need 1 minute of your time to debunk all of the bullshit you've been spewing about SNAP benefits. There are 2 points that I'm going to debunk really quickly. Myth number 1, SNAP benefits cost too much, and we as a country should not be supporting these people who have qualified for SNAP benefits. It's simply too expensive for our country. So I think we should be able to agree that to determine that something costs too much, it's a comparison of how much money you're bringing in versus how much money you're spending on that thing. Example, if you have $100, a Pepsi doesn't cost too much, but a Honda Civic does. So let's think for just a moment about how much money we are bringing in versus how much we're spending on SNAP benefits. Okay, yearly, the SNAP budget is about $100 billion. Let's compare that number yearly to what we are giving up as a country through the Trump tax cuts. Money we have just chosen not to bring in to give rich folks tax breaks. As you may recall, through the big ridiculous bill they passed a few months ago, they extended these tax cuts indefinitely. So over the next 10 years, due to those tax cuts, the federal government will lose $5 trillion in revenue that could have been collected, would have been collected if those tax cuts had not been extended. So let's do some really quick math. If we were to look over a 10-year period, the $100 billion SNAP budget becomes 10 times 100 billion, $1 trillion. Over that same period, we have chosen to lose $5 trillion in revenue. So $5 trillion is what, MAGA? It is bigger than $1 trillion. In fact, it's 5 times larger. So if Trump hadn't extended these tax cuts, we would have more than enough money to fund SNAP 5 times over, or just fund it once and have a surplus of $4 trillion left over. But that's not what happened, because you all voted for these tax cuts and you support these tax cuts, I guess, but you also are claiming that we don't have enough money to feed poor people, because that's what you do. So yeah, miss me with all this "we can't afford it" BS, because that's simply not true. We could just choose to have a whole lot more money, but that's not what you voted for. All right, myth number 2 that I want to debunk. I've seen a lot of really racist videos of people suggesting that black folks are either the exclusive or the primary beneficiaries of SNAP benefits, which is simply not true. I've seen a lot of people with charts and graphs and stuff. I don't need a chart. First of all, I know it's not true because the charts and graphs do show us that. But just think about this. If SNAP benefits primarily or exclusively benefited black people, SNAP benefits wouldn't exist. This is America. We don't do anything that exclusively or primarily helps black people. That is simply not what we do. If you don't believe me, see reparations.
Did y'all see the video of the man saying that white people were mad because they thought SNAP benefits were only for black people, and now that they're mad that their food stamps are being taken away too? What? Except I lived in the South, so I have seen this before. Matter of fact, my best friend, I met her in college and she was pregnant, okay? That little boy, sweetest little boy, but she was on like WIC and food stamps and healthcare and everything too, right? As she should be. She needed the help. She needed the assistance, okay? We were driving the car one day. She would not shut the fuck up. She was like, I'm so mad at people taking my tax dollars and blah, 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 and we shouldn't be paying for other people's healthcare, and I don't want to pay for other people's food. And I finally go, girl, you know you're the other people, right? And she was like, huh? And I was like, the health insurance that made you be able to take your little boy to the doctor yesterday, I paid for that. The food that you eat that you put on your table, I paid for that. My tax dollars paid for that. Like, you are the people that you're talking about. How are you going to sit here and trash talk people when you are the people? Like, you have WIC, you have food stamps, and you have health insurance for you and your child. And you're going to sit here and trash talk people who use government aid. What? Anyways, they're mad now. They're mad now that their shit's being taken away too. Okay, did we all share the brain cell today, or what?
Seeing white people in real time come on this platform with the realization that SNAP benefits is the same thing as food stamps and EBT, it's quite comedic. I can't lie, it's a little funny. And not funny, haha, funny weird, because they did the same shit with Obamacare and the Affordable Care Act. They didn't realize that they were one and the same. Just two different names. SNAP, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, EBT, food stamps, they're all the same, just different. You know, one is just like the government official name. I don't know. That's the thing about racism and being racist. It's a sickness. It's a disease that's generational, if we're being quite frank. And y'all don't want to heal from it. Y'all don't want to get better because you feel like you can stand on some imaginary pedestal instead of, I don't know, instead of allowing everyone to get benefits that make all of our lives better. You will cut off your nose to spite your face. You will shoot yourself in the foot in the name of making things difficult for a demographic that you just don't like, for something that they can't change, their skin. But then you don't realize you're hurting yourself too. And a lot of these politicians, the only color they care about is green. Money is their god. Money is who they serve. I don't know what more you need to understand. That it's not like a left and right thing. Yes, most of the time, unfortunately, because we do live in America, it is a black and white thing. But it's also like an up and down thing. A lot of y'all, especially white people, need to realize that you are the third estate. You are the proletariat. You're not the bourgeoisie. That's not how that works. But again, your racism that y'all don't want to get rid of, that y'all don't want to let go of because it makes you feel better about yourself, has now caused all of this to come full circle. I don't know, like, why are y'all mad? Y'all voted for this. And then saying y'all didn't vote for this is kind of crazy. Y'all gotta stop saying I didn't know. That's not a valid excuse. We have Google. There are so many different platforms for you to obtain information from. I don't know is not good enough. You voted for it. You wanted that man in there. And he don't care about y'all. He don't care about none of us. We're not in his circle. Why do y'all really, like, you see how much of a nasty sickness racism is? It's caused all of this BS. And y'all can't cure yourselves until y'all face reality and admit that you're sick. You have to, first part of recovery is admitting that you actually do have a problem, that you have a sickness. You know, so let's start from there. But y'all don't even want to admit that. So
do not skip, do not scroll away, because the only person you'll be hurting is yourself. So keep on watching till the end. 35%. Now that could be a percentage for anything, but it's not. It's for one thing, Pacific. That's the number of white people who are going to be affected the most when SNAP benefits run out next month. That's right. 35% of white people will be hit the worst when SNAP benefits run out next month. Yes, it'll affect everyone else who's on SNAP benefits, but it's going to especially affect white people who are in Republican-run states. Republican-led states are going to be hurting the most. And food pantries will not be able to keep up because they're also not getting deliveries like they used to. Because Trump and Republicans do not care whether you have food or not. And the owners, they also don't care. The only thing they care about is this, people, money. How we get here? Greed and corruption is how we got here in the first place. It's because of this, people. This is what the greedy rich only care about. And the Republicans and Democrats, they have bought off. Money, people. Money is the only thing they care about. This is not black and white. This is not complicated. It's the rich up here versus the rest of us down here. The ultra wealthy who are greedy and only care about this are the real problem. Not people who do not look like me. Not poor people. Not African Americans. Not Latinos. Not the LGBTQ plus community. It is the people who are the 1%ers. The people who hold all the wealth. They are the problem because they want us to be fighting against each other. They don't want us to be working together. They want us to be at each other's throats because all they care about is this. But long term, it's not going to work out for them. But that is for another TikTok later on. This one is all about what's going to be happening next month. And make no mistake, if you believe Donald Trump saying, oh yeah, everyone's going to get the SNAP benefits next month, he's lying right to your face. He's lying right to your face because the big, ugly bill takes that away from you next month. That's the truth. And if you still don't believe it at this point in time, if you're still watching, then check out Secular Talk, Status Quo, Democracy Now! All those are on YouTube. And then go to Ground News website. Because they are going to back up everything I'm saying. And if you still don't believe me, go watch other TikToks about this topic. Because it's out there. You just got to be willing to look. And not just go based on headlines. And last but not least, if you believed this young man who's gleefully happy, it says, yeah, I'm going to be really, really happy when people lose their SNAP benefits in November, December, and well, it's next year. Because my grocery prices are going to go down 30 to 40%. Wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong. That's not how it works. Whether someone is on SNAP or not on SNAP does not determine whether your grocery prices go up or down. No, that's the greedy CEOs that own pretty much every grocery chain out there. They dictate the price. They dictate of how much this you pay. Not whether someone is on SNAP or not. That's reality. That's the truth. So tell me your thoughts. Leave a comment down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.
I'm going to bet that this is not the face you would think of when you think of who is a SNAP benefit recipient. I've got white skin, a college degree, I'm married to someone with a PhD who's also hot, and we have 2 boys, and we were on SNAP benefits less than 2 years ago. Our oldest was born less than 6 months before the pandemic kicked off, and literally when he was born, the very day after, I started graduate school because I was trying to get a graduate degree. Because of my wife's degree, we've been prioritizing her career ever since we met. So after the pandemic started, I stayed home to be the parent while my wife continued her career. By the time childcare started to look like a viable option, we were pregnant again and had another child before the vaccines even started to roll out. So we're a family of 4, living on a $60,000 salary while she was completing a postdoctoral research project. We didn't even know that we qualified for SNAP benefits for years. It wasn't until we found out that our oldest is autistic and someone recommended that we at least apply for SNAP benefits because that could be a big help on our finances, which we're barely getting by. Now, we all know how much more expensive things got after the pandemic, but from 2020 to 2024, the place we were living increased its rent by more than 30%. We started at $1,500, and when we left, the rent had gone up to $2,000 a month, more than 30%. So we didn't even know that we qualified for SNAP for years. We literally had to be told this is something you should look at. So I want you to remember that. There's a lot of people who probably qualify for SNAP who are not currently getting it. The next thing is, after her postdoc was done, she started her own company and in her first year made $200,000. What happened 1 year later? Well, Trump took office and completely destroyed our business. How can such a great businessman who's going to have everyone swimming in money destroy our business? Google what wind energy is doing in the US. It's moving overseas. It's moving to Europe because Trump has completely destroyed all opportunities for investment in the wind energy sector. And so all that money that was getting poured into that business that we were making 6 figures from, it's now going to Europe. It's not going to Americans anymore. Wind energy brought us probably more than 60% of our income that year. The rest of it almost exclusively came from scientific research grants, which have also just evaporated. So when you're thinking of people who mooch off the government and deserve to go hungry this November, I want you to think about us and our 2 kids, one of which is special needs. I want you to remember that for years we didn't participate in SNAP because we didn't even know we qualified. We thought $60,000 a year, like, that's not poverty, right? Like, we shouldn't be applying for assistance. And then we got that assistance, and boy, was it helpful. It really did alleviate a lot of the stress. But at the same time that we were getting help with our food, the rent kept going up. So we didn't really move upwards in terms of financial stability. I don't really know what the worst part of all this is because everything just feels like a worst part. But one of the worst parts is that her dad and stepmom and my parents voted for this. They're happy that this is all happening. They're happy that we have a war on science and drill, baby, drill. Yet simultaneously, they talk about how entitled millennials are and how no one wants to work anymore. What do you want from us? We have tried so hard. We have put so much work in, and yet just the rent keeps going up. Salaries don't go up. And the moment we start to feel like we might finally be able to afford our first home, Trump takes office and just completely destroys our entire livelihood. It's honestly just fatiguing and in some ways traumatic to talk about all this. So I'm just going to leave you with this thought. Government assistance is a necessity when society prevents you from becoming self-sufficient.
Baby, white TikTok is in a frenzy, and while I have my voice right now, I'm going to use that hoe. They don't understand how their SNAP benefits are being cut off in November. They literally thought when they heard SNAP benefits, it was only going to hit the black folks, okay? Now, I'm going to say this. When the government shuts down, it does not just shut down for one particular group of people. It shuts down for everybody and they fucking mama. So yes, white people in the Midwest, these Appalachian white folks, y'all ain't gonna have y'all shit either. Now I am gonna say this, when you decided to vote for that man, you put a wild card on the table during Uno. You don't know which way this man is gonna go. And no, I am not blaming Democrats once again. They are holding the fucking line for the Affordable Care Act and Medicaid. Something you white folks on SNAP need. So y'all better buckle up. Now, if there is an uptick in shoplifting in grocery stores. If y'all see that shit, be like Pam on Martin. I ain't seen jack. Because we ain't seen none of it. Now, food banks are going to have a hard time because you already got federal workers that don't have any benefits whatsoever right now, are not getting paid. You also have people in the armed services that are not getting paid, that are lined up at those damn food banks. Now you got over 40-something million people that will not be receiving their SNAP that's going to need food as well. So I do expect an uptick in shoplifting. Do what the fuck you got to do to survive.
I'm a physician and I use SNAP benefits all 4 years of medical school. I lived in the city of Chicago during medical school, and I lived off of whatever, like $30,000 a year federal loan refund I got, and it just simply was not enough to live on in the city of Chicago. Unlike a lot of people who go into medicine, I wasn't bringing any generational wealth with me. I was fully financially independent, and while I was lucky enough to be living with my husband, who was my boyfriend and fiance at the time, it just still is not enough money to live on and feed yourself with. Not only does cutting SNAP benefits mean there are going to be millions and millions of children in this country who are going to go hungry this winter and beyond, there are a lot of people with hopes and dreams and goals and aspirations who have to get through a period of their life where they're going to be pretty financially unstable. And for me, that period of my life was medical school. Having SNAP benefits meant that I had consistent access to healthy foods. It allowed me to put my financial resources towards professional necessities like board examinations and residency interviews. And it truly got me through what would have been a much more difficult period in my life. And it is an absolutely gigantic mistake. And a public health disaster, cutting SNAP benefits for people in this country.
I voted for him for lower grocery prices. Not only has that not happened, I'm getting my food stamps taken. I did not ask for this.
Well, seems like a good enough time as any to interrupt her. Hi, I'm back to teach white people more shit. Well, mostly white people, because that's who keeps popping up on my FYP, just cheering on the fact that we won't have any SNAP benefits for November. So I thought I'd do a little research. Yeah, and I'm using Alabama as my example because that's the state I live in. And I got my data here that I'm about to read to you from the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, and also because I know how to do basic math. Well, I do, but I double check it with Siri because I did receive an Alabama education, so there's a anyways that's neither here nor there. I said, you know, how many people in the state of Alabama, our population, are on SNAP benefits, and they said 750,000 to 800,000 people in the state of Alabama are on SNAP benefits, and that's our population, by the way, is 5 million. So that makes it 15 to 16% of our population are receiving SNAP benefits. And I said, so if we took each state, the percentage of their population on SNAP, and ranked them from highest to lowest, where on that list would Alabama fall? And we are the 11th highest on SNAP benefits. It's not really that good. They said 1 in 6 households receive SNAP benefits. I said, out of curiosity, how many people in the state of Alabama receiving SNAP benefits are white? It said 37%. I said, okay. That's about the same as our national average, so to be expected. I'm just going to give you a little bit more information to tie this up. 64% of the population voted for Donald Trump. 64% of the people who voted in 2024 voted for Donald Trump. And 77% of those people were white voters. And that comes from the Pew Research Center. I hope that helps.
Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Now, you've listened to what Americans have to say about the entire situation. MAGA Americans, they thought that those who benefit from food stamps are majorly black people or immigrants. And that is a lie that they have been fed continuously by their politicians, and therefore it is not really easy to erase that off their heads. They still believe even now that the data that is being revealed is not true. MAGA are not the ones who depend on SNAP more than any other group. That is what they believe. But the truth is different. They are the dependents on SNAP more than any other group, and that they must live by. So when they are coming out to start blaming Democrats on such kind of things, they should know that it was their decision that made Trump be president, and it is also that decision that has allowed the government shutdown to be this long and get prolonged to an extent that some important services cannot be delivered. The ongoing shutdown has revealed a deep irony within the political and social landscape of the United States. For years, a significant portion of the Republican base, especially those aligned with the Make America Great Again movement, has been encouraged to believe that social safety net programs like the SNAP are primarily used by racial minorities and immigrants. Conservative media narratives and political rhetoric have often portrayed these programs as burdens on taxpayers, implying that undeserving others were the main beneficiary. However, data from U.S. Department of Agriculture consistently show that the majority of SNAP recipients are white, and many live in rural or small-town America, areas that overwhelmingly voted Republican. As the shutdown halts or delays government services, these same communities are experiencing the brunt of the pain. SNAP benefits are funded by federal appropriations, and when those funds run dry, millions of Americans face food insecurity. In many rural counties, SNAP is one of the most vital sources of food assistance, helping to support grocery stores, small retailers, and local economies. When payments are delayed or suspended, it isn't just individuals who suffer, it's the entire towns. The revelation that the programs are not abstract handouts to strangers, but lifeline to one's own neighbors, families, and communities has been a rude awakening for many. This disillusionment has political implications. For decades, Republican leaders have balanced populist rhetoric with policies that reduce federal spending on welfare and social services. During normal times, this contradiction can remain hidden behind ideological slogans about self-reliance and limited government. But in the context of shutdown, when paychecks stop, benefits halt, and the impact becomes personal, the abstract become real. Many MAGA supporters are discovering that the very program their political leaders decry are the ones keeping their households afloat. The government shutdown also highlights a broader misunderstanding about the nature of federal spending. In many conservative states, the federal government sends back more in benefits, subsidies, and grants than those states contribute in taxes. These net recipients, states rely heavily on programs like SNAP, Medicaid, and Social Security to sustain their populations. Yet political narratives that frame federal aid as wasteful or undeserved have obscured this reality. As the shutdown stretches on, the disconnect between ideology and lived experiences grows more visible, especially in communities that had long supported the politicians driving the standoff. Ultimately, the current crisis is more than just a policy dispute. It is a mirror reflecting the economic vulnerability and political contradiction within the Republican coalition. The shutdown has exposed the degree to which many working class and rural Americans depend on the very government they have been taught to distrust. As frustrations mount and grocery budgets tighten, some are beginning to question the narrative that once seemed unquestionable. Whether this awakening will translate into lasting political change remains to be seen. But one thing is clear, the costs of shutdown are falling hardest on those who least expected to bear them. They didn't expect to be the ones who are bearing the brunt of an ineffective government. But they put in Trump thinking that he was coming with some solutions that he imported from somewhere else to address the challenges that Americans were having. We know that high cost of living is a major issue for Americans. Even if you look at the midterm elections that were just held, someone like Vivek Ramaswamy spoke about it. He said openly that the rude awakening that has hit Americans after that election is that there is need to bring down the costs of everything. Everything, starting from healthcare, inflation, and all other things. They must be addressed immediately, because if they are not addressed, Americans will not give Trump and Republican governments any more chance to lead and have their majority as they have always had in the different houses. So that is a serious issue. Let's wait and see how the real political outcome will be seen, because the first one was these midterms, and the positions that were up for grabs went majorly to Democrats because of the standoff that Republicans have created in the House. Don't forget to share your thoughts down in the comment section, and if watching us for the first time, remember to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share. Thank you, and let's meet on the next one.